Very dear students and audience, a very warm welcome to my YouTube channel Dr. Zia Ahmed. In today's introductory video, we are going to discuss structuralism as a part of the series of videos in order to understand literary theory. So today we will be talking about structuralism. Well, the title itself is very suggestive of the meaning and understanding of the theory of structuralism that comes from the word structure. It means that it will be more concerned about the way the language is constructed rather than the ideas, the content, the context of the language. So therefore, one can say that story has become less important in case of structuralism. The way that story is put has become more important. Actually, structuralism began in France in 1950s. However, its very big influence was felt in the 1970s and then in the early 1980s. Because of this influence, lots of changes occurred in the understanding of the language and the literature and the things which were happening around the people. In that regard, one can say that history and the author became unimportant in the understanding of the text. The way the text was put, the way it was constructed, that became more important. So therefore, one can say that it brought a type of crisis in the understanding. That means people started to understand that the language or the story or the text cannot be understood in isolation. We mean to go into the structure of the language. We have to understand how the context has been developed with respect to the language. Only then the word can be really understood. Otherwise, the meaning is arbitrary and cannot be understood in a perfect way. So in that way, the essence of structuralism was that language and its structure is more important as compared to the story itself. One can say that all the human activities are constructed. They are not essentially always available, and these can be understood only with respect to the way the language is used. Well, in this regard, structuralism seems to be an extension of formalism, because formalists also believed that form is more important as compared to the story or the text, and that is why it can be called that form is more important, and as a result, structuralism is a type of extension of formalism. In fact, Ferdinand de Saussure is the most important person in this regard. The pronunciation may vary. I don't bother about that. Saussure thought that language does not have its own meanings in the way as we are understanding. According to him, meanings are constructed, and for this purpose, he gives us three important things. One is the signifier, other is the signified, and then is the signification. According to him, the words which we can see or we can listen are the signifiers, and the concept which is related to them are the signified. He says it's never 100% sure whether the word which is being used or the signifier which is being used will be giving the same meaning as we are thinking about the signified, because of the way it is constructed, because of the way it is put in the context, because of the way the person who is listening to that signifier possibly may not be able to relate it to the very signified which one person is thinking. So that is why meaning constructed by the word becomes totally arbitrary, and as a result, the relationship between the signifier and the signified, I mean the word and the concept, becomes arbitrary. It is very difficult to find out that relationship. However, it can be understood with respect to the difference that possibly may occur between the signified and the signified. That very difference would be helpful in construction of the language and its meaning. It means that there is a system of differences which the different units of language will be experiencing, and accordingly the meaning would be becoming clear. So understanding this way of language is definitely termed as the structuralism. We can further go into it and try to understand with another way as well. There are two major concepts also used in this theory, that is langue or the parole. Langue is the set of rules, the way the units of the language should be used, and parole is the way an individual would be using language. Now, there could be the difference. For example, grammar would suggest that langue should be followed, and Parole would suggest that the individual may be understanding the language. Now, if the rules are followed, I mean the putting of the units is followed, the clearer meaning would come further before us instead of going behind the Parole, because Parole would suggest individual use of language. But on the other hand, Lang would suggest rules and the units of the language, the way they should be put and they should be understood. So in that way, this is very important to understand how structuralism goes to work. These things carry on with the passage of time, the kind of situations develops, many critics come forward, and they try to bring forth their own ideas to make a type of understanding. But as it is an introductory video, so we can summarize by saying here that structuralism is a type of meta language. It is the language to understand language. I mean, the description is made how language has been used, how words have been arranged, and how these words as signifiers are relating to the concepts which are called signified and the language meaning is being constructed. So in that way, it is very clear to understand the language. It is very clear to see that structuralism brought a very big change in the world, in the world of literature, in order to understand literature or any text, whatever the text may be. It didn't talk about the way the previous texts have been talking, like the author, like the story, like the text, like the history working behind that. In this case, structuralism brought a new way of understanding, and that was with respect to the words and the way these words are arranged and the way the difference occurs in the arrangement of the words. So in that way, lots of other things continue to happen with the passage of time. Now, let me take and give you one example here also, which is frequently quoted by the structuralist. For example, if you speak the word cat, this may be just a word and it's a signifier. The immediate signified, the concept that would come before you is the animal cat, the soft creature that would come before you, which can walk very stealthily, that can come to your mind. But then the same word can be used for a malicious woman as well. A person who has been going through difficult situations because of women, maybe taking the word cat for that. That depends on the way how the words have been arranged and how the context has been developed with the help of the word. The difference definitely comes there. Same is the case with the third person who may understand that the cat possibly is the thing attached to the anchor of the ship, related to the ship, that is the cat head which they use. So in this way, the meaning could be different. But then the meaning can be understood in a very clear way, that if we try to see where the word has been put and what is the way the word has been arranged, how grammatically it has been placed, and with respect to that, maybe trying to understand the difference between the signifier and the signified, and may reach the correct difference. So to know correctly the language, we need to understand, according to the structuralist, language in that way, stories in that way. It can make us understanding very sharp and clear. In USA, the same structuralism, though, was not given the similar name, but they had been knowing it with respect to Bloomfieldian type of school, post-Bloomfieldian type of school, and they understood with reference to phonology and morphology. With these two major concepts, they understood the same thing. And the proponent of this thing in case of USA were Franz Boas and Edward Sapir. So in that way, in Europe as well, in USA, the theory of structuralism continued to work. So therefore, that is the very good way to understand how structuralism has been working, by understanding the concept of signifier and the signified and the difference that occurs in our understanding between the two, and ultimately we can have a type of understanding of Lang and Parole in order to have a good understanding of Saussure and his theory about structuralism. So that was all from my side about this introduction to structuralism. Hopefully you can watch more videos, read more books, and the notes here available. And after that, you can have more advanced studies in structuralism. My purpose was to let my students know what actually structuralism means, because this is a difficult thing to understand, and if it is made easy, the students may be finding it quite easy to understand. So thank you from my side, because this has ended here. Hopefully to see you in the next video, which definitely is going to come on post-structuralism. So if you like this video, if you understand something, got a little benefit, please go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe button, and do comment on that in order to suggest more improvements or to highlight some of the difficulties which my videos are posing. So thank you very much for watching this. Hope to see you in some next video. Thank you and bye-bye.